Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Wendy, and you're listening to the HR Lady podcast, the place where we discuss all things HR, management, and running a small business. I believe that people are a company's greatest asset and should be treated as such. I have been in the human resources and operations game since 1998, fixing problems and educating people face-to-face, online, and from the stage. I am focused on results, and I am here to help you do the same. Today, we're diving into an issue that's far too often overlooked: transportation for employees. Yes, I'm talking about getting folks to and from work, an aspect of our workforce that can make or break your recruitment and retention efforts. Whether you're operating in the middle of a bustling city or way out in the remote rural areas, employee transportation is an area where you can truly make a difference. First things first, why does transportation matter for HR? Well, let me hit you with some quick stats. According to a report from the Center for Urban Transportation Research, a whopping 25% of employees cite transportation issues as a significant factor when deciding whether to accept or keep a job. Imagine losing a quarter of your workforce just because they can't get to work easily. Transportation barriers are real, and they're costing us talent, productivity, and ultimately money. Now, I know what you're thinking. Come on, Wendy, providing transportation or even thinking about employee commutes isn't my job. But here's the reality. It kind of is. As HR or a manager playing HR, our job is to make the workplace accessible, engaging, and supportive. And that starts with literally helping people show up. So buckle up, pun intended, because we're about to break down why transportation is so crucial and what you can do about it, whether you're a small business in a rural town or an urban startup. Let's start in the cities. Urban areas have their own transportation pros and cons. The obvious benefit is public transit, but depending on where you are, public transit can be a double-edged sword. Sure, it's accessible unless it's delayed, crowded, or simply doesn't run at times when your employees need it. One great strategy is offering public transit benefits. Think about transit passes as part of your benefits package. According to the DPV Transportation White Paper, offering discounted or fully covered public transportation passes not only eases the burden on employees, but also saves them hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars a year. Plus, it's an environmentally friendly benefit, and we know people love companies that care about the planet. A pro tip here is that employers who offer commuter benefits can take advantage of tax incentives, reducing payroll taxes while providing a perk that's genuinely valued by employees. It's a win-win. So, if you're located in an urban area, get cozy with your local transit authority and explore what options are available. Now let's pivot to those of you who are in rural areas. Public transit, forget it. Here, transportation becomes a real obstacle and frankly a headache for a lot of folks. In rural communities, lack of reliable transportation is often a major contributor to high turnover. And if someone's car breaks down, that's another vacancy to fill until they're back on their feet. So what can we do? Well, there are several options. One of them is setting up an employee carpool program. This can be as simple as pairing employees who live near each other or coordinating shared rides. I've seen some creative solutions like businesses partnering with local dealerships to offer discounts on car repairs or even facilitating vehicle lease programs specifically for their employees. Sometimes a small effort can help keep your people on the road and in the office. Another strategy for both rural and suburban settings is an employer-provided shuttle service. Now, I know what you're thinking. A shuttle sounds like an expensive logistical nightmare, but hear me out. The National Safety Council's Transportation Playbook talks about how providing a shuttle is especially effective for companies with shift work or for areas without consistent public transit. Shuttles can be shared among businesses in an industrial park or subsidized by local government programs. There are even ride-hailing companies that offer tailored solutions for employers, helping you arrange transport for shift workers who need that extra bit of support. Imagine the recruiting power of telling potential hires, "Don't worry about getting here, we've got you covered." And let's not forget the simplest transportation solution of all. Don't make people come in if they don't need to. Remote work and flexible hours can alleviate a ton of transportation woes. Now, I know not every job can be done from home. Looking at you, manufacturing and retail folks, but consider allowing flexibility where possible. This could mean adjusted start times to accommodate carpool schedules or offering hybrid work options where feasible. I've heard people say, "Why should I bother? Employees are responsible for getting themselves to work." Fair point. If it were 1990 and you could rely on having a line of applicants at your door. But this is not 1990, folks. And the job market is competitive. We're in the middle of a talent shortage and every perk counts. When candidates are evaluating their options, reliable transportation or the support to solve their commute problems can be the difference between them choosing your job or the guy down the street. Let's add another stat here. According to the Transportation for America study, employees with a reliable commute are 25% more likely to stay with a company for over a year. When we think about turnover and the costs associated with recruiting, hiring, and training, investing in transportation starts to look pretty darn cost-effective. Let me share a real-life example. A small manufacturing company in the Midwest was struggling with a high turnover rate. They realized that many employees lived far from the factory and had trouble getting to work on time, especially during winter. So they partnered with a local van service to provide shared rides for their employees. The result? A 40% reduction in turnover and improved productivity because people were less stressed and more consistently on time. Sometimes it's the simplest solutions that yield the biggest results. All right, so maybe you're convinced now that transportation is a piece of the HR puzzle you can't ignore. What's next? How about some practical steps to get started? Survey your employees. Start by understanding the transportation challenges your employees face. Is public transit accessible? Is carpooling feasible? Surveys are a great way to gather this information. Then explore partnerships. Whether you're in an urban or rural area, there are often local organizations, transit authorities, or even other businesses that you can partner with to share transportation resources. You can consider piloting a carpool or shuttle program. If it makes sense, start small. Implement a carpool board or designate a meeting point for shared rides. Or, if it's viable, set up a shuttle for employees in hard-to-reach areas. I met a business owner recently that told his employees that if they called him within 2 hours before their shift, he would come to their house and pick them up and then drop them off after work. No questions asked and no effect on their job. After a year, he was able to save enough money with recruiting to actually buy a van and hire a driver full-time. Get creative, he did. And it worked. Promote flexibility and be flexible in your scheduling. If employees can come in later or leave earlier to accommodate ride sharing, that flexibility can be the difference between an employee staying or leaving. Right, my friends? Let's put a bow on today's discussion. Transportation isn't just a nice to have, it's a competitive advantage when it comes to recruitment and retention. Whether you're in a busy city with complex public transit systems or in the rural heartland where everyone drives, considering how your employees get to work can help you attract talent, reduce turnover, and build a happier, more productive workforce. Remember, the goal here isn't to solve every transportation issue overnight, but to start thinking about how you can remove one more obstacle for your employees. People want to work. Let's help them get there. If you've got stories or ideas about employee transportation, or if you've implemented something that worked well, I'd love to hear about it. Drop me a message. And as always, if you found value in today's episode, share it with a friend or colleague who might need a little transportation inspiration. Thanks for tuning in. And until Next time, keep driving positive change, literally and figuratively. Take care.